health and fitness with David Hollywood.
With DS Sports. Is your sports club ready for a Christmas kit upgrade? Contact DS Sports. dssports.ie.
Hello and welcome to this week's programme. Let's have a look at what's coming up on the show. We're going to hear from the new chairperson of Offaly GAA on the massive boost their coaching and games development programme got during the week. You'll also meet the man behind the boost, and from one of the programme's driving forces, you'll meet a Midlands man breaking national records in his indoor boat. Moneygall's Ken McDonald just claimed a new Irish record at the Indoor Rowing Championships. First, we're off to Condren Concrete in Tullamore. Offaly GAA has announced a multi-year sponsorship deal with the company. That deal supports the coaching and games development programme for the next 3 years, with an option for another 3 after that. The first man I spoke to was Tom Parlin. He is Offaly's new chairperson.
We're delighted that Condren have rowed in with such a very generous investment in the GAA, and particularly in the whole development of young people into the GAA. And Condren have always been a very generous supporter of Offaly GAA, but this is sort of, I suppose it's formalising. And I was at a meeting earlier this week for the parents of the development squads, and we had in excess of 150 parents in there, and a fabulous night. And the message was the parents who were there were the happy ones. The parents of the kids that didn't make it into the final 35 were disappointed. So one of the coaches said it's cool to play for Offaly again, and kids want to do that. And but in terms of their personal development, we have an excellent setup. We have 14 full-time professional coaches, and the whole area of strength and conditioning, the whole area of nutrition, the whole area of sort of mental health and sport in that way. So it's a wonderful training for youngsters, and we have a brilliant setup both in O'Connor Park and back in the Faithful Fields. Top class, world class, I'd say. And the fact that Condren now have come on board, they're an indigenous local company. Johnny Condren was a legend in the Midlands and starting off really from nothing, and John is very proud of that, and we've acknowledged that here today in the photographs and so on. And big employers, big contributors to the economy, and obviously I hope that it knocks on well for Condren, but even in terms of their workforce here, I think it will be very positive out there in the community that they are such a supportive force for Offaly GAA.
As you said there, they're indigenous in the sense that they're really embedded here in Tullamore. And I was even speaking to the yard manager while you guys are doing your photo calls. He's a big Tullamore fan, he's a big Offaly GAA fan, and you can tell that Gaelic Games is part of the fabric across this county. As you say, it's cool now again to support GAA if you're younger, but a lot of the older lads probably struggled over the last 15-20 years with the way things have gone. How have you observed the mood change over the last 5 years or so?
Well, look, I'm obviously quite new into this position, and it's been an absolute eye-opener for the last month. I did not appreciate the extent of support that Offaly GAA are given to the players now in particular, and rightly so. It is very much player-centric, whether it be under 14s, under 15s, under 16s, or minors or under 20s, and our senior hurling squad. They all get a massive support. It's expensive, and that's why John Condren is so important to us. I think our turnover last year was 2.8 million for a small county with a modest population. And I think we're up there with the very best of the counties in the country in terms of the facilities that we have, and I think our ambition is up there now as well. There's a belief in Offaly now that we're fit to win. We're after winning an under-20 football and under-20 hurling with great aplomb, lovely stylish players and so on. So there's an expectation that we're going to be up there competing at senior level, and I think that's good for everybody. It's good for it lifts the morale of people in the county.
Your tenure as chair of the association is starting this year, or has started I should say, and you touched on something there I wanted to ask you about, which is the burgeoning cost of running a competitive association at senior level. Is that a concern for the period of your tenure? I imagine it's one of the things that you'll be working very hard at making sure is sustainable, because each year we look at the annual convention accounts, it goes up and up and up for the turnover and the costs, but obviously the income has to too.
Yeah, it is. It's a challenge, there's no question about it, and the structures that have been put in place by the previous by Michael Dagnan and Colum and Derval and that team are superb, and commitments from the big players to continue sponsoring into the future. So, it's my role now to carry on that and bring my own sort of ambition and a new team. And like, I've had a management meeting already. Superb people are on the table, so committed. And the scale of expertise that's around, the professionals that are sitting around the table offering their services voluntarily to the GA is superb when it comes to planning, when it comes to any issue. That expertise is there. So it's onward and upwards. We have 2 matches at the weekend, and people will be watching to see is all this investment paying off. And certainly I'll be a bit nervous both before the Carlow hurling match and the Sligo football match to see how well we're doing. Of course, we have our injury problems and we have all of that, but it's a very exciting time, and I'm really honoured to be in this position. I think I'm going to be extremely busy, but it's something that I'm going to be very happy to put the time into.
You mentioned the Offaly footballers are playing Sligo at the weekend. Declan Kelly is now joined by Mickey Hart in a management team. Have you spoken to the two guys together? What's your read on how they're working together?
Yeah, it appears to be. Now, we met both the management of the hurling and the management of the football team, and there is a player charter in place as well that we have to meet with them, that was agreed between the GPA and the GA in terms of how the players, and that all has gone very well. So, I think Mickey brings a new dynamic. He's a top class trainer. He's probably has more successes than most people. I think he's brought a bit of excitement to the squad, and it appears that Declan himself are really working very, very well. So the new rules are obviously going to bring their own challenges. I expect that a brain like Mickey's will have our guys fairly well tutored as to how to take advantage of the new rules. And Offaly always had the class. They like to play in nice football rather than maybe some of the very defensive stuff that Mickey introduced initially. So that seems to be taken out of the new game, and I assume that Declan and Mickey have that in hand, but we'll have a better idea after we see how they perform against Sligo.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating in the football. For Johnny Kelly and the hurlers, he's obviously ticked a huge box last year in winning the Joe McDonagh Cup, and there's a steady pipeline of really talented young hurlers being fed into that senior panel regularly. What are the expectations around them this year? They're in Division 1B of the league, and then they are in the Leinster Championship, so presumably staying up in the Leinster Championship is a huge carrot.
Absolutely. I mean, every game is going to be a tough game this year. We've had a few practice matches there against Galway and Kilkenny, very, very competitive. But there seems to be massive spirit amongst the players. They all want to play, and there's great potential there. And I think in Johnny, he is an absolute top-class trainer, up with the best in the country, and the panel of coaches that he has, there's a good bit of Tipperary influence in there, which me coming from almost on the border, I assume will be very positive, like the likes of Brendan Maher and the likes of Seamus Callanan, two of the best players in their time, and their commitment. I've met them, and their commitment to Offaly, and they're so impressed with both the players and the facilities that they're, I think they're going to bring a very positive influence.
Next this evening, we catch up with the woman who's leading the coaching and games development charge.
Health and fitness
with DS Sports, the teamwear specialists. Experience lightning fast delivery and unbeatable service for all your sporting needs at DS Sports, with gear ready in as little as 5 days. Contact 085 87 15 311 or info@dssports.ie.
Midlands 103.
Welcome back. Karina Carroll's the head of coaching and games for Offaly GA. She's also the first ever woman to hold the position of chairperson of Ballinamuir GA. And she's been talking to our reporter Jack Irwin about an important meeting next week. And firstly, how important that new investment is for young people playing Gaelic games in Offaly.
Today is the launch of the Condon Concrete sponsorship of the Offaly Coaching and Games. John Condon has kindly sponsored Offaly Coaching Games for 2025 on. And all the staff have come here today, 14 staff, our GPOs that are in all the clubs in Offaly, our county management committee have come for really a launch of the Coaching and Games this week. So this week, it's this week because it's a very important week for underage in Offaly. So last Monday night we had the development squad parents evening, which was a packed O'Connor Park. We had over 155 people in the room where they were introduced to our new chairperson, and then each member of staff spoke on different specialties around what the players are going to get this year. So we are pretty strict on attendance in our squads, and we hope that every player turns up every Saturday. For the next 2 months they're going to go Thursdays and Saturdays, and the parents were shown what they're given every time to show up. So Dean Bracken spoke about hurling, but he also introduced 3 parents on the night: Ned Shirley, who's father of Donald Shirley, Laura Kavanagh, who's a mother of Brecon, Alex and Lee Kavanagh, and then Sean Rigney, who's father of Shane Rigney, apologies. So they've all gone through the academy systems, and they could only say what was great about it, and related that's chalk and cheese to where it was years ago. Nigel Dunn then, he introduced some of the new rules and explained how he wants 100% footballer coming out of Offaly. Gary Flannery, our head of performance, spoke to the parents about what to do in the gym, their athletic development program all year round, and the necessity for attendance at our trainings. I just ran through the logistics on the night. John Hackett spoke about our lotto, and finally Tom Harlan finished up the evening. It was a very good evening in O'Connor Park. So next week is our underage programme evening. So a number of years ago we realised that if you wanted to see when your team were playing, or when you were playing, or when was the knockouts, or when was it over, when was it started, you had to go to many different documents and check many different emails to see your plan of the year ahead. So it was decided with the Coaching and Og and the Coaching and Games team that we develop a pack. So this is the third year of a pack. It has grown every year. There's 39 pages in it now, but it explains everything a parent, a coach, a club needs from under 8 right up to minor. Every game for all the under 8s and under 10 Go games, the under 11 Go games, the under 12 and 13 Shane Lowry leagues, the EJ championships, and then all the minor clubs leagues as well. So we're expecting a big crowd already. There's 158 booked in. We might have to move venue, but we are expecting a big crowd. And we hope everyone attends. That really, when they leave on the night, the booklet that they leave with is a one-stop shop for Offaly GA.
And Karina, just touching ahead again on next week, just for the listeners listening in, can you just explain to us again where it's taking place, and for the people who are interested in it, how can they get involved?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's a link, a registration link, just because we'd like to keep an eye on the numbers attending, but also Nigel Dunn on the night is going to go through the new football rules. People are talking about the senior football rules and the senior matches, but a lot of people are forgetting it's actually coming into the underage in Offaly as well at 14, 16 and 18. So Nigel is going to on the night give a few short slides about the new football rules, but there on that night he's going to use that Microsoft form to people ask questions after. We think there'll be a large volume of questions. He's not going to answer them all in the night, but he's going to get back to everyone individually. So that's why we feel it's very important that you're registered on the night. But also we feel it's when we get to August, when the knockouts are happening, or when there's draws for home venues, or when people are wondering who plays who when you land in a group, that's where the volume of calls come in. And we feel that if we have the pack in place and everybody is there next Monday, they will know what happens in August, which is also going to be helpful for the club secretaries, because the club secretaries don't have to answer the questions either. They just have to refer to the booklet. One additional thing that's happening on the night is we're doing a live Féile draw for the Féile takes place on the 9th and the 15th of March. And why we're doing that is because I suppose it's a bit of innocence. People don't realise that the fixtures are put into a system, and the home venues, where you play, when you play, the date you play, the time you play, is not typed out by Karina Carroll or Keith Screeney or anyone Coaching and Og. A group is decided, the teams are entered, and the system fixes who plays who, home and away. And an awful lot of people would think, oh God, sure, Offaly are putting us playing over here again. It's absolutely nothing to do with that. So we actually just feel that people should see the system and see that teams are entered, the venues are decided, and then the referees are added on in relation to where the referees are from. So I think it's a good idea for people to see that across Offaly and note that it's just run professionally and fair.
Yeah, Karina, it does sound like it is definitely something we're going to. You look into it over the last few years, maybe it has been a struggle for clubs. So I think, it sounds great. So we do recommend that get involved in it next week. Yeah, so Pádraig will have the links to register. So say if your club secretary hasn't provided you with the link, Pádraig will put the link up to register for the night. He'd get on Twitter there with a couple of information on the night. And one extra thing to say was that Nigel is hoping that everyone attends the football match on Sunday.
club coaches, children, everything, but not just to support Offaly, but to look at the rules and then to jot down a few things and to ask him on the Monday night about the rules so the game is fresh in your head. So we invite you all our staff will be there, we'll answer questions at the end, and then after Monday night there's just a few, I suppose, different items go through with the county management committee, but then the pack will be officially launched on the 10th of February.
And then I suppose lastly, just on yourself, how long have you been involved in the coaching and games development, and sort of just go over your experience about being involved in it?
Yeah, well, I suppose I actually was a GPO like a lot of them, the lads over there, which I think I started that nearly 20 years ago at this stage, but I moved on to different things, went back to studies, and I worked with my husband in his local surgery there for a number of years, but just after COVID then Michael Daigan approached and asked would I get back involved with Offaly, so I came back in as coaching officer. I felt I had the experience after being the GPO for a number of years, but Michael and I had worked together in Ballamere and Doro GAs at the underage. I'm still there for 15 years now, and we felt we could go back into Offaly together. So I'm probably in GA all my life, backing off. This would be my 6th year involved with this management committee, 3rd year as coaching, 4th year as coaching officer, and myself and Keith Screeney swapped roles a while ago. He's now chairperson of Cushionogue. So Keith's committee and our committee work together to produce this pack. But the one important thing about this pack is every club or independent team in Offaly have seen the groups, they've seen the rankings, they know what group they're going to be in, they know which championship they're going in. They have agreed to everything in this pack. So there's going to be no surprises on the night. It's actually just instructions on the night.
And best of luck for the coming year.
Great, thanks Jack.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
And Karina, just for the Offaly Games of Development, when does that start for the year?
Yeah, well look, we're nearly a full year round, working from January to December now. But the development squads officially start back training on the 1st of February. They will then go every Saturday and every Thursday for 8 weeks, taking a break for Féile. They will play 6 challenge matches throughout the year. They will also play 6 championship matches throughout the year, and they will finish up on the 31st of August, and then go back to their clubs for activity. So when they go to the Faithful Fields on a Saturday morning, they generally do 45 minutes gym with Gary and Usheen, and then out to the pitches with their team coaches. So they would spend 2 hours on a Saturday morning, and I know we're at the Condon Concrete launch, but we do have to thank Glenisco who provide them kids with yogurts every Saturday, and also the support of the management committee who allow these children to get fantastic gear, supports and nutritionists, medical supports. Chris Coombs are head of medical, but the support the children get in that. But also when these children travel away, they're actually they're the same company that cater for the senior and the under 20 and the minor cater for development squads. So these children see that they're getting these meal boxes with the amount of protein, the amount of fats, the amount of carbohydrates, and it really is, as Gary Flannery always states, the development squads is a curriculum, and when we're doing this every week in, week out, they're seeing this is how you eat, this is how you run, this is the physio I need, this is the medical I need, and this is what I need to do. So they're starting Saturday week. It's always a bit controversial. We do ask for 100% attendance, but we do feel when we're providing so much, when Condon's Concrete are providing the sponsorship, that all we ask is the players turn up once a week every Saturday.
And Karina, just for the Offaly Games of Development, when does that start for the year?
Yeah, well look, we're nearly a full year round, working from January to December now. But the development squads officially start back training on the 1st of February. They will then go every Saturday and every Thursday for 8 weeks, taking a break for Féile. They will play 6 challenge matches throughout the year. They will also play 6 championship matches throughout the year, and they will finish up on the 31st of August, and then go back to their clubs for activity. So when they go to the Faithful Fields on a Saturday morning, they generally do 45 minutes gym with Gary and Usheen, and then out to the pitches with their team coaches. So they would spend 2 hours on a Saturday morning, and I know we're at the Condon Concrete launch, but we do have to thank Glenisco who provide them kids with yogurts every Saturday, and also the support of the management committee who allow these children to get fantastic gear, supports and nutritionists, medical supports. Chris Coombs are head of medical, but the support the children get in that. But also when these children travel away, they're actually they're the same company that cater for the senior and the under 20 and the minor cater for development squads. So these children see that they're getting these meal boxes with the amount of protein, the amount of fats, the amount of carbohydrates, and it really is, as Gary Flannery always states, the development squads is a curriculum, And when we're doing this every week, week in, week out, they're seeing this is how you eat, this is how you run, this is the physio I need, this is the medical I need, and this is what I need to do. So they're starting Saturday week. It's always a bit controversial. We do ask for 100% attendance, but we do feel when we're providing so much, when Condren's Concrete are providing the sponsorship, that all we ask is the players turn up once a week every Saturday.
When we come back, we'll hear from the man behind the investment. John Condren's on next.
Health and fitness
with DS Sports, the teamwear specialists. Experience lightning fast delivery and unbeatable service for all your sporting needs at DS Sports, with gear ready in as little as 5 days. Contact 085 87 15 311 or info@dsports.ie.
Midlands 103.
We've heard from Offaly GAA on what it means to have their coaching and games development programme sponsored for the next 3 years. What about the man behind the support? Let's catch up with John Condren of Condren Concrete.
What happened was my son Luke, who is a huge passionate GAA. He plays out in Dora. So Luke is huge into. He go to Croke Park, watch any game. So a lot of his friends were part of the minor hurling team. A lot of our neighbours. Luke was talking to me about it. To be honest, I didn't really have much interest in GAA going back years ago. But Luke rekindled my interest, and he kept talking, so I started to get interest. Then Deverell Dolan, who was the past treasurer, he does a lot of work for me. So I was talking to him, and then I kind of said, well, look, how could I help the team? Do you know, because like any successful business or team is the background, and I was really impressed what Derbal and Michael Dygan were doing with coaches, getting people to the games, and it kind of excited me a bit. And then that's how I kind of wanted to help, so look, I mean, last year with the under-20s, winning it was just the magic was you can't write the script, and it was great for the senior team the following day. But for me, is halftime at the pitch, is seeing all these kids with the Offaly jerseys, with the hurls. Like, Lord of mercy, my father, he was a huge, passionate GAA. Like, if he could live that dream and see that, it would be unreal. So I then decided that I would like to do something for my father, in memory of my father, and he was a passionate GAA person. So I spoke to Deverell, and Deverell and myself came up with the idea of trying to help, what I'm doing with the kids going to school. But look, I'd be straight up. I'm doing it for 3 years, and I said it when it was announced. Like, I benchmark everything in my company. So, and I am committed to do it, and I'm very happy to do it. And I would like to do it for another 3 years after that as well. But important for me is that I get the word back. The kids are having these coaches. It's happening on the ground. That's the way I run my business. So it's really up to, and I have no doubts Offaly will do it, but they have to know it's not an easy ride. But it's for the benefit of the kids, which hopefully will be the benefit of girls football, camogie, Offaly, whether hurling or football, it's all the young kids coming up, passionate about wearing the jerseys, getting their parents to go along. That's why Michael Dygan and Deborah did a great job providing the buses at the beginning to get the kids to go, which meant the parents had to go. So if I go back to me, it was Luke got me interested, and that's how it happened.
It's interesting, as you say, that you, from a business perspective, an investment perspective, benchmarks are important so that you can assess performance along the way. And it looks like from the outside, Offaly GAA has probably been pretty good internally at doing that in the last few years. If indeed the association goes from strength to strength, the youth teams keep performing and the senior teams keep performing, what would it mean to you to think that you played a part in pushing Offaly forward in football and hurling onto that elite level in both codes?
Well, no, I feel good, but look, I have 170 staff here, and a lot of them are from Offaly here, and I'm doing it for my employees working here as well, and for they might have kids playing and stuff like that, And look, it'd be just good for the county itself. And look, okay, I know we're a big business here, but it's important for me to give something back from my business to the community to try and help, and it's important for me. And look, it'd be fantastic if Offaly did make it good and I did kind of was part of the link, to kind of help it along. That'd be it for me.
We were chatting to Tom Parlin earlier, who's obviously taken over from Michael Duignan as the chair of the Offaly GA. He obviously was heading up the Construction Industry Federation previously. Had you guys ever crossed paths before, or is the Offaly GA thing sort of your first interactions?
No, I would have met Tom in the past, through construction, and we would have been involved in different projects, trying to, with the government, maybe to, whether it could be in different issues and, where you might need to get things changed, in different policies. And Tom would be very good advocate of that. And, he'd be very good at trying to get the job done. And that's why I think Tom coming into Offaly GA, he's like Michael Duignan and Deborah were very hard acts to follow. But I think Tom will take that box.
Yeah. It seems like it's a really productive or constructive appointment in that respect. From Condren Concrete's perspective, then, you mentioned benchmarking and that type of thing. Are there any specifics you can talk us through about what you would like to see from Offaly GA over the following years, or I suppose is that something that's in a folder for between yourselves and Offaly GA?
Well, for myself, it would be nice to see that football coming back in, like Mickey Hart's here now. Hopefully he might regenerate to get maybe the football going. Look, I like to see the girls, it's, Rebecca here works here for me, and she's a passionate GA footballer, and, I like to see the girls doing well as well in football or camogie. But look, it'd be great, it would be everybody's dream for Offaly to have another senior title, whether it's hurling or football, and that would be icing on the cake.
To finish up this week, you're about to meet an inspirational Moneygall man who's rowing his way through the record books.
Health and fitness
with DS Sports, the teamwear specialists. Experience lightning fast delivery and unbeatable service for all your sporting needs at DS Sports, with gear ready in as little as 5 days. Contact 085 87 15 311 or info@dssports.ie.
Midlands 103.
Now, last week, Ken MacDonald, who's based in Moneygall in Offaly, set a new Irish record when winning the men's open lightweight in the Irish Indoor Rowing Championships, which took place at the University of Limerick Sports Arena. He took gold in the event, just a 0.2 of a second shy of the world record, and for good measure, he came within that of breaking the Irish record for the 2,000 metre, the 2K event as well. He joins us on Health and Fitness this evening. Ken, thanks very much for taking our call, and a huge congratulations on what was a phenomenal performance in UL last week.
Thanks very much, David. It's great to be on the show. I was happy with my performance. It was a 2-second improvement on the World Championships from Prague last year, where I won the gold medal in the 2K, and it was a 0.1 of a second improvement on the 500 from Prague last year, where I won that event as well. So yeah, I was delighted with the improvement. A little bit disappointed that I didn't break the world record for the 500 metres, but happy to set a new Irish record in the 500. So I have to take the positives from that and learn from. You always learn a little bit about yourself when you compete at a high level, and you realise in a 2K event where you can make improvements or better yourself.
Yeah. Tell us, obviously outdoor rowing has its own atmosphere. I imagine indoor rowing, especially at a championship where maybe people are cottoning on to the fact that you're on record pace, was there a buzz and an atmosphere, a loud atmosphere when you were getting to the final couple of 100 metres of the races?
Yeah, you can hear the support all right from people around you. You know, people who would be familiar, and I would know you from the rowing scene, so I'd get a few cheers there. So it's important for me to try and maintain my focus. I rather stay in my own sort of bubble when I'm competing indoors. I find sometimes if I'm distracted, it sort of takes from my focus and my concentration, and I really need to focus on the monitor when I'm racing to make sure that I'm staying on pace when I'm racing, because going into an event I have an idea myself, you know, if I'm fit enough, if I've been hitting the markers in training, you know, if I can hit the marker on the day then. So, you know, my training and the volume of training that I do builds my confidence, and the numbers that I'm pulling in training give me that confidence going into events. So I often have a ballpark idea of the time that I can pull or race, whether it's a 2,000 meter piece or a 500 meter piece. I'll have an idea going in, and then I'll have an idea of, you know, who are the best in the country and maybe who are the best in the world that I might be racing against, and if I have the work done to perform. Okay. So you know, I often train to win, but I also train to dominate when I'm racing.
What's the self-talk like when you're going through the race? As you say, you keep an eye on the monitor, so you know how you're pacing. If you fall below the pace, then does your internal narrative turn to technique and say, okay, are my legs doing what they should be? Am I pulling in the right way? Am I breathing in the right way? Talk us through that side of things.
Yeah, well, my technique and my race plan going into a race like that is to know the speed that I need to go at. So on a rowing machine, we go by what we call our splits. So our splits are how long it takes us to row 500 meters. So it comes up on the screen. So it might be, you know, for someone rowing outside, it might be 2 minutes per 500 meters. So when I'm in a race, I might be, for the 500 meters, I might be rowing at a pace of, you know, 124, and I try and maintain that constant through the race. So for the 2,000 meter race, I'll settle into my race pace within 4 or 5 strokes, because you have to control the adrenaline. The adrenaline wants to, you know, make you go faster off the start, and that can compromise your race then further into the race. You know, you'll die during the race if you don't pace yourself correctly at the start. So, you know, as I go through the race, then I try and every single stroke I'm trying to maintain that split. If it begins to slip, I try and get it back down again, and sometimes then you've a little bit left in the legs at the end, you know, just to empty the tank. But you know, you can feel that drip effect of you know, the sort of build up of lactic acid in the legs, and the pain, because it builds during the race. You know, your breathing is under pressure. You know that you're going to be in extreme pain during the race, and it's really just to try and, I suppose I say to athletes when I'm coaching them, it's like, keep your hand in the fire as long as possible. Keep it in there longer than anyone else to try and beat them, because your competitors are suffering as well, and it's about who can stick it out longer.
It's fascinating, and it occurs to me, maybe, I don't know, as Irish people, we're very well suited to rowing, because I think that kind of durable mentality kind of does apply to a lot of our sports people. How have you observed the growth of rowing over the last few years? Because obviously you're a seasoned competitor. I mean, just a quick glance through your palmares. You've been rowing since you were in your early teens, senior national championships, world masters championships, European championships out on the water as well, world police and fire games, indoor rowing, as we've touched on, world records, European records. But you surely have seen, I suppose, in the last 8 to 12 years, a real explosion in the sport's popularity in the mainstream.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I suppose from Paul O'Donovan and his brother doing so well, winning a silver medal in 2016, there was I suppose an explosion in the sport, and it was opened up, I suppose, to the general public, in that people now knew what rowing was, because up until then it used to be a case of you know, you tell someone you were rowing and they'd have a perception or concept of what rowing was, which wasn't the version that I do. So I no longer have to explain what rowing is to people, which is fantastic. And it's great to see the clubs around the country getting more, members joining, more junior members, because it promotes fitness in the community, and it's a fantastic way to train, to get out in the fresh air, out onto the water, and you just see the world from a different perspective. You see towns and villages from a different perspective, because we're always looking from a bridge or a road onto the water. But when you're out on the water looking back at the city, or looking back at the towns or the villages or the countryside, it's just an amazing feeling. And being out in a crew setting with other individuals in synchronicity, it's one of the very few sports where you have to blend with your teammates, and you're only as strong as the weakest link. I suppose like tug of war, except we're on the water and there's that fidelity. It's like ballet dancing combined with power and speed and all the different components of fitness that come together to make a successful crew. But yeah, absolutely, the success of our high performance athletes has definitely brought the sport of rowing to the fore, and people are aware of it, and it's they know who Paul O'Donovan is, and Fintan McCarthy, and Philip Doyle and Dara Lynch are Olympians, and all the ladies who've excelled, the likes of Sunita Puspor, who was a multiple world champion, a fantastic athlete and an amazing individual. These people have put so much training and hard work into the success that we see on our television screens. In the background, it's incredible.
You touched on something there that I remember having Deirdre Feary, Gemma Kiley, a few people from the Athlone Boat Club on in the past, and they spoke specifically about the experience of being on the Shannon from the perspective of actually being on the water, as you say, rather than going over the bridge or being on the banks. And the other thing they talked about, and they're really proud of in Athlone Boat Club, for instance, is the success and the vitality of the juvenile system. And it seems like it's becoming more and more a young person's sport. Would you be hopeful for the future of rowing, considering maybe the age profile of the participation numbers?
Yeah, it's going to be huge, because Rowing Ireland have developed a lot of coach education now. So I help out. I'm a coach developer with Rowing Ireland, so I go into clubs around the country and I coach the coach. So it's about educating the coach as to what are the correct systems for the athletes to train, so you can get the best out of the athletes. So it's about educating the coach educating the athletes, and the athletes buying into the system of training. Because when I was rowing as a junior, I remember walking around my own club, and the sports science wasn't there at the time to educate me as to how to be the best version of myself that I could be. So that education is now being disseminated amongst the coaches around the country, and they're attending courses. They're doing their introduction courses. They're doing their level 1s, their level 2s, and they're experiencing, and they're able to, I suppose, like I say, disseminate that information to the athletes, and they're able to deliver the correct training methodology to the athletes to get the best out of them. It's about trying to optimize and get the most potential, tap into the potential of the athlete, and make them the best that they can be.
Ken, let's finish up by turning the focus back on yourself. Obviously, you thrive off competition. I've got two questions then. Talk us through what you've got coming up next. I know you mentioned at the top of our chat. And secondly, more broadly, do you envisage yourself continuing to compete in the medium term? Do you think that you've got loads miles left in the clock when it comes to this sport?
Yeah, I won my first senior championship in 2000, and I rowed with the Garda boat club. And shortly after that, the fitness test that we do is on the Concept 2 rowing machine, which would be familiar to a lot of people who maybe do CrossFit or High Rocks. It's the indoor rowing machine. It's the standard bearer throughout the rowing community and the rowing world, where our top athletes are tested, just to see what your fitness test, what your level of fitness is at. I'm going to have to go back on that. Can you rephrase that question again, David?
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
I'm after going off on a
No, you're grand. So I'm going to pick it up again just from that question, and then you can have another spin at it, and then the bits in between won't exist, essentially.
Okay.
Grand. Give us 2 seconds there. Ken, I'm going to finish up by turning the focus back on yourself, and I've got 2 questions for you, basically. The first is, tell us what you've got coming up on your immediate horizon in terms of competition, and then, speaking of competition, like, for how much longer do you see yourself competing at this sort of international level? You're still a leading figure when it comes to the sport in a lot of respects. How many more miles do you think you have left on the clock over the course of the next few years?
Yeah, the beauty with rowing is it's a non-contact sport. So unlike hurling or football, the length of time that an athlete can maybe compete at the high level in rugby or hurling is, maybe into their mid-30s or early 40s, if they look after themselves and they take care of all the essentials, their sleep, their lifestyle, nutrition, hydration, all those key factors. For myself, I won my first senior national championship in 2000 with the Garda Boat Club, and after that I was tested on the rowing machine, which is the standard bearer tester for all athletes across the rowing community, and I pulled a time of 6 minutes and 27 seconds. So that was in 2000. 25 years later, I'm close to that number again. I'm pulling 6:32, and I hope to get down to 6:27.
Wow.
At the next event that I compete in, which is the World Indoor Rowing Championships in February. I'm going to compete in the 500, make an attempt on the world record, and try and retain my gold medal from the World Championships last year. But also, a few weeks later, I'm going to compete in the 2,000 metre event, and I'm going to make an attempt on the Irish record at that. And, that sort of puts me it gives me the confidence again to know that I can compete at a fairly high level in the Irish Rowing Championships, which come up in July with my team. So I'm back rowing with my club team, and they're all in their 20s. So I'm competing against them, and I'm on an even keel with all of them. I'm beating them over 2K. They're beating me over maybe 6K, but that's not relevant to racing because we race over 2,000 meters, as I say, on the water. So, I wouldn't put myself forward to be in the crew unless I thought I could bring something to the table, and I'm doing that at the moment. So as long as I can do that, and as long as I still have the graw and the love for the sport and the love of training and trying to be the best version of myself that I can be, well, then I'm going to keep going. And as long as I get a pass from my wife and my family, and I get their support, I'll keep training, because I love the sport. I love being as fit as I am and as healthy as I am. I often say I'm an instructor in the Garda College in Templemore, and I deliver training throughout the country on different courses. And I often say to the young guards that you give 30 good years to the guards. Maintain your fitness, stay healthy, so that you have another 30 good years after you leave the guards. And so that's sort of my mentality. I want to be fit and healthy for many years to come after I retire.
Well, you've said it all there, really, and I'll just echo 2 points that you made in relation to your relationship with the sport and the requirement of the support of your family to proceed. And I think you're a credit to both your family and the sport, Ken. Congratulations on the Irish record, the victories in both the 2,000 metres and the 500 metres in the Irish Indoor Rowing Championships. And we look forward to seeing what comes next for you down the line.
Thanks very much, David.
Another week of health and fitness is done. Joe Cooney's on hand with his exploding box of fantastic tracks. That is, of course, country roads after the news at 8. Have yourself a good weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.